Chad here with Purple Collar Life. I'm back with the Splitfire 4090 wood chipper. We've got some wood here ready to chip up. So if you haven't watched the previous video, check it out. In that video I show how to operate and turn on this wood chipper. But in this video, we're gonna do some more, and that'll be 2 times we've used the chipper. And then at the end of the video, we're gonna try maximizing the size of the branch it goes through here. And then after that, we'll be able to give an honest review of what we think about this chipper, having used it on multiple occasions. So stay tuned, let's get chipping. We've got this log that we were gonna throw into the wood chipper, the Splitfire 4090 chipper, but we're gonna save this to the end of the video, so yes, you have to watch to the end to watch this biggest piece go through. And I wanted to mention, you know, for people that burn firewood like us, this would actually be burnable firewood. So you could probably just take the chainsaw and buck this up and add it to the stack. And I was gonna do that, but Jennifer really wants to see if this will go through the chipper. So we'll save this to the end. In the meantime, we've got a pile of stuff ready. We've got the chipper right here, ready to blow into the woods. So let's get started. And this video is gonna be
It is the maximum. It's the maximum. That's why I wanna see it.
So this is the maximum. That's why Jennifer wants to see if it'll handle the maximum. I don't have a tape measure on me. How do I know if this is too big? Well, one of the nice things about the Splitfire is there's actually a guide on the machine. So you can hold a piece of wood up against that maximum circle, see if you're within the constraints. And we are just about right there, maybe a little over, but pretty close. Jennifer wants to see if it'll go through. We'll save that to the end of the video.
Or didn't you say the manual says 4 inches?
The manual says 4 inches, yeah. So I'm pretty much in the woods here. You can see lots of kind of forest behind me. And those piles actually make good habitats for things like rabbits and squirrels, other animals that live here in the woods. But once you get so many piles of them on your land, it actually becomes kind of an eyesore. It takes them a long time to decompose down into dirt. So what we're doing today is just kind of cleaning up some of this land. We pulled these sticks out of the pile, we'll chip them up, and then there's multiple piles we'll show you down along the other edge of the property with plenty more chipping opportunity in the future. So I've got this chute raised up as far as it'll go. I want to kind of do a little experiment and see how far the chips shoot out. Now you can direct this down, so if you have a trailer you're towing behind you, you can direct it right down into the trailer. But I have it all the way up. There's just a handle over here you loosen up to adjust the direction, and then you move it back up to tighten up. So I've got it all the way up. We'll see how far it goes. Jennifer's gonna try to capture some really good video that I can put in slow motion. So the forked push stick that Jennifer found me works good to shove stuff down, but there's still some stuff, you know, if it's got weird branches growing out the side of it, you can see how this one, I just couldn't get it to shove down in. And you can actually see the blade slowing down in there. I want to pull this out because that would, not having the protective plastic able to block stuff from coming back up, could let something fly out at you. So that's why I shut it off. Whenever there's a safety concern, it's always better to turn the machine off. Yeah. Let's see if we can get the blade slowing down in there.
Yeah, you wouldn't want something to come up and hit you in the face. You need to make sure you keep remembering to put that down.
Yeah. You see the blade in there video?
Mm-hmm. And I know it was just, it wasn't a, what do you call this? A chipper. I remember Peg last year had a piece of wood come off a splitter and hit her in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she'll let you post a video or post a picture of what she looked like.
Maybe. So you can see where it cut down to. This was all one piece, but just because of the angle, this was just sitting on top of the chipper blades and couldn't go down in any further. So we could probably try to refeed it at a different angle, but you always want to make sure you start the machine with nothing in it. You wouldn't want to bind it up when it's trying to start. So we'll throw this off to the side. We'll throw it back into the later date, or maybe we'll cut that little side chute off so it's not such a weird shape to fit down in there. We've still got a little pile of sticks here, so I'm going to start it back up and we'll get back to work. Less than a half an hour, all that brush you had seen here before is gone. Here's the piece that kind of got jammed in there. It didn't really clog the chipper, but it kind of floated on top of the blades and I couldn't get it to go down any farther. But I wanted to talk a little bit, now that we've got a couple hours of runtime on the Splitfire 49, some things I've learned. First of all, in the beginning I was worried about every single stick getting pushed down in. But what I found is that it's okay to let them sit like this, because when you put the next stick in, it helps feed these through. So you don't have to worry about getting everything shoved down in when you first put it in. The more sticks you add in will help push this down through. Another thing I learned is that the sticks go in best and feed through best if you can feed them as if they were laying down against the front of the hopper funnel. So if you can feed them in like this, they kind of self-feed. They pull themselves through and shoot out. So that'd be my tip if someone's using the 4090 for the first time. Don't think you can just shove it into the middle of the hopper. It goes best if you just kind of lay it on the bottom of the hopper funnel and let it feed down in at that angle. Now I'm going to pull this stuff out of here because I don't want to start it with things in it, but I wanted to demonstrate how you don't have to push all that down into it when you first put it in. The future pieces will pull it down in. Now this is a pretty long one. It's longer than the four-wheeler, but it's under 3 inches. So we're gonna see how it does. Now, another tip for you, we're actually underneath a pine tree here. That makes it really hard to lift things in with the right angle to go down there. So it would be better to be working in an area where you can put a taller stick straight down against the funnel without it catching on these limbs above your head. So we'll give this a try. We do not want to chip this one up. This is that nice Y push rod that Jennifer found for me in the woods. We'll give this one a try as a little pre-test for the big one that Jennifer's been waiting for here for the end of the video.
And it does recommend
It does.
having a fork.
Yep. So I'll pull this stuff out. We'll restart it. We'll try putting this down through. Then we'll do the big one. And at the end of the video, we'll give you our thoughts on this Splitfire 4090 wood chipper. we didn't do a very good job of keeping track of how long we ran this. Several hours, I would say.
No.
How long do you think?
Maybe, because he started and stopped and made piles, maybe an hour and a half.
Okay. And we haven't filled it up with gas in that amount of time until right now. So I got some ethanol-free gas. We're gonna fill. And it is a little bit of a tricky one to fill because your gas can has to be at a weird angle.
I don't know if I could have figured that out.
And we did let it cool down. You always want to let a gas engine cool down before you refill with gas. You don't want those vapors coming up around a hot exhaust system or a hot engine. So good safety practice to always let it cool down before you refill. And then move your gas far away from the exhaust. So you got to see a video of this cutting through some pretty good pieces. A couple things we learned. Like I said, you feed it down the front of the hopper, just let it flow into the chute. A lot of times it'll pull itself. If you've got some wider pieces that aren't going in, don't worry, the next piece you put in, white push them down in, and using your forked stick to push them down in helps really good. As far as the bigger pieces go, they do chip up nicely, but the longer they are, the more it bogs down. So if you've got one that's 8-10 feet long, you saw in one of the clips, it'll actually bog the machine down pretty good. What I like to do after that is let it build its RPMs back up before you put the next pieces in. So that blade is spinning as fast as possible. And it kind of drools. You'll see if you've got a really long piece that's bogging it down. It was shooting, I don't know how far that is, probably 10, 15 feet.
Yeah.
At the tree, you can see we made a really good pile here at the tree. So here's, for scale, when I crouch down, it's right there. But these pieces are nicely chipped up, but when it got bogged down, the pieces by Jennifer are bigger chunks. Kind of what you'd see in mulch, really, if you bought mulch.
That's more like sawdust.
Yeah, this is more like
and
saw
this is
chips.
more like mulch.
Yep. So, just some words of advice there. If you're chipping some longer stuff, let it build the RPMs back up before you put the next piece in. It never stalled out on us, and we really tested it. We put some pretty big stuff in there, and we had some stuff in the hopper Jennifer would throw brush in. So it's good for not only sticks, but brush, as long as you have something to help push that brush down into the blades.
It was definitely slower doing the brush when there was a lot of branches and stuff than the straight pieces.
Yeah, the straight pieces feed in much easier. The brush has to work its way down. And you always want to be cautious. You know, this shoots out pretty good, and they are chunks of wood. So you wouldn't want someone working back in here gathering stuff as you're feeding. You'd always want to stay to the front or the sides in a safe zone.
I'm super pleased with how, I mean, we've been working for, I don't know, we've been here for 3 hours tonight. We've stopped and done many other things. We stopped to go get gas. So I bet we've probably only been working for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but probably more than an hour and a half. And a lot of this area is cleaned up better.
Yeah, we chipped up a lot of brush. As you can see from the pile of sawdust here, you can only imagine how much wood it takes to make a sawdust pile that big.
And I guess now, I don't know, now we have a pile of sawdust, but I would imagine that'll break down a lot faster than leaving it how it was.
A lot of people like to mulch around their trees. That's what we've done here.
And I just think piles of brush close to your property line or where you can see from your yard is overall an eyesore. So I'm really pleased that we've been able to use this and clean some stuff up.
And as you know, we live in an area with rattlesnakes, copperheads, and some dangerous snakes. So those piles of brush are good habitats not only for the rabbits and the squirrels and stuff, but they can be good habitats for the snakes. So as much as I dislike snakes, specifically the poisonous ones, I'd rather get rid of any brush piles I see.
I was trying to avoid in my head thinking about what I was reaching into.
Yeah. So review of the Splitfire 4090. We've only used it a couple days now. Super impressed with the Splitfire 4090. It's actually, I'm thinking in my head, like, this is the kind of thing that, yeah, it's good for a homeowner, could use it several times a year, but this would kind of be a moneymaker. You could rent this out to people. It's commercial, industrial enough that, you know, larger tree cleanup companies could use a machine like this. So when you're cutting up a tree or cutting limbs off a tree to clean off an area, this would easily just chip them up.
And I, like my dad, was taking a look at this, and he definitely thought that those heavy plastic pieces, those flaps, really slowed down the process. But he's probably used to chippers from decades ago where there weren't many safety features. So
yeah, and those really keep the stuff from kicking back up at you. They almost pinch the wood in place, so if it does get caught, it can't kick back up at you. And it reduces the noise a little bit too. I notice if I push a stick down in and push that flap way down, it's a bit noisier than when the flaps are up. So definitely hearing protection. This is a loud machine. You want to protect your ears. Eye protection, face shield's a good idea, but really an amazing machine. Definitely not what you'd typically see in a chipper. You know, you think of those push mower size chippers that are made for limbs. Most of what we fed through here today would not go through one of those chippers. Thanks for watching. If you like videos like this, give us a thumbs up, comment down below, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll put lots of B-roll after this video of this chipper in action, so if you just want to be mesmerized by the awesomeness of it, keep watching. You'll just get to watch several minutes of the chipper in action. Thanks again.
Okay, he thinks he's a backup pro. Let's see how he does first time.
What do you think?
Oh, I think you've been out here practicing.
Yep. It's a nice shed. Perfect storage for a four-wheeler and a split-fire wood chipper.